The chandelier lights of the Los Angeles Gala sparkled like stars, but my heart stopped when I saw him. Daniel Carter stood across the room, his eyes meeting mine, stirring a storm of memories. 10 years ago, I, Sophia Bennett, walked away from him and our newborn son, Liam, in Seattle. I was young, scared, chasing dreams of a tech empire. His gaze now held no warmth, only the weight of my betrayal. I'd built a billion-dollar company, but the cost was my family. Daniel, once a struggling mechanic, was now a renewable energy tycoon, a man who'd raised our son alone. The music faded as guilt crashed over me. I'd left them to drown in medical bills and fear, choosing ambition over love. Now, standing in this glittering crowd, I felt hollow. Could I ever mend what I'd broken? Daniel's success mirrored mine, but his was built on love for Liam, mine on regret. I wanted to run, to hide, but his steady gaze held me. This was my chance, maybe my only one, to face the past and fight for the family I'd abandoned. I took a breath, stepping toward him, my heart pounding with hope and fear. I stood frozen under the golden glow of the Los Angeles Tech Gala in 2030, the air thick with perfume and ambition. My name is Sophia Bennett, 35, a billionaire who'd turned a startup into a tech empire. My life was a parade of boardrooms and headlines, but tonight, my past caught up with me. Across the ballroom, Daniel Carter's eyes locked onto mine. My ex-husband, once a mechanic in Seattle, now stood tall in a tailored suit, radiating power. He was the CEO of Carter Energy, a renewable energy giant. The sight of him twisted my heart. 10 years ago, I'd left him and our newborn son, Liam, behind. I was 25, terrified and drowning in dreams too big for our tiny apartment. The gala buzzed with tech moguls and investors, but all I saw was Daniel. His dark hair was flecked with silver, his jaw sharper than I remembered. Those brown eyes, once so full of love, now held a guarded edge. I clutched my champagne flute, my fingers trembling. I'd built a fortune, but at what cost? Liam, our son, had been born with a heart defect. The bills piled up, and I couldn't see past my fear. I'd chosen a scholarship to Stanford over staying with them. Daniel moved through the crowd, shaking hands, his presence commanding. I remembered him in greasy overalls, exhausted from night shifts, cradling Liam. Back then, I'd been accepted to a prestigious tech program. I told myself I'd save us all by succeeding. But I'd only saved myself. Leaving was a cold decision, my suitcase packed as Daniel begged me to stay, tears in his eyes, Liam crying in his arms. "We'll make it work, Sophia," he'd said. But I walked out, my ambition louder than his pleas. Now, here he was, a billionaire like me, but for different reasons. I'd read about Carter Energy, innovative, sustainable, born from a garage. Daniel had built it while raising Liam alone. The guilt hit me like a wave. I'd traded family for success, and now I stood in a room full of strangers, my achievements feeling empty. The orchestra played softly, but my pulse thundered. I wanted to know about Liam, to see if he had my eyes or Daniel's smile. Was he okay? Did he hate me? I took a step toward Daniel, my heels clicking on the marble floor. The crowd parted, and I felt exposed, like every eye could see my shame. I'd spent years burying the pain, telling myself Liam was better off without me. But seeing Daniel, I knew I'd been wrong. My empire meant nothing without the family I'd left behind. I wanted to speak, to explain, but the words caught in my throat. Could I face him? Could I face the truth of what I'd done? I didn't know, but I had to try. This gala wasn't just a celebration. It was the start of my reckoning, a chance to confront the past I'd run from for a decade. 10 years ago, Seattle was a gray blur of rain and despair. I was 25, a new mother, sitting in a cramped hospital room with Liam in my arms. His tiny chest heaved with every labored breath, his heart condition stealing his strength. The diagnosis was pulmonary hypertension, dangerous, expensive, life-threatening. The doctor's words echoed. Medication costs $20,000 a month. He'll need years of care. Daniel, in his mechanic's uniform, gripped the chair, his knuckles white. "We'll find a way," he said, his voice breaking. But I saw the truth in his tired eyes. We were broke, drowning in bills, and I was terrified. I'd just been accepted to Stanford's tech program, a ticket out of poverty. My dreams of building something big clashed with the reality of Liam's illness. Every night, I'd rock him, his cries piercing my heart. Daniel worked double shifts, but it wasn't enough. I felt trapped, my future slipping away. I loved Liam, his soft curls and tiny hands. But I was scared, scared of losing him, scared of losing myself. I told myself success would fix everything. If I built something great, I could pay for his care, give him a better life. One night, I made my choice. Liam was asleep in his crib, Daniel beside him, exhausted. I packed my suitcase, my hands shaking. Sophia, don't do this, Daniel pleaded, tears streaming down his face. We need you. Liam needs you. But my fear was louder than his love. I can't stay, I said, my voice cold. I won't throw my life away. I left them in that dim apartment, the sound of Liam's soft breaths haunting me as I shut the door. I moved to Silicon Valley, threw myself into my startup. Every line of code, every pitch, was a step away from them. I told myself I was doing it for Liam, that my success would save him. But I never sent money, never called. I cut them out, believing it was easier that way. I built my empire, but at night, alone, I'd see Liam's face, wondering if he was still alive. I'd see Daniel, broken, carrying the weight I'd refused to share. Years passed, and my company soared. I became Sophia Bennett, tech prodigy, untouchable. But the hollowness grew. I avoided news from Seattle, afraid to know the truth. Had Liam survived? Had Daniel moved on? I buried my guilt in work, in wealth, in the applause of strangers. But it was a lie. I traded my family for a dream that didn't fill the void. Now, standing in this Los Angeles gala, seeing Daniel's success, I realized what I'd lost. He'd fought for Liam while I ran. He'd built a life from love, while mine was built on regret. The memories flooded back, each one a knife to my heart. I'd been a coward, and now I had to face the man I'd hurt, the son I'd abandoned, and the truth I'd avoided for a decade. The Los Angeles gala hummed with wealth, but all I felt was the weight of Daniel's stare. He crossed the ballroom, his steps deliberate, his face unreadable. Sophia Bennett, he said, his voice steady but sharp, like a blade hidden in silk. You look like you've conquered the world. I forced a smile, my heart racing. And you, Daniel. Carter Energy. Impressive. He smirked. But there was no warmth. Funny how life turns out, isn't it? You got your empire. I got mine. And Liam, he paused, watching my reaction. Liam's alive. No thanks to you. The words hit like a slap. Liam was alive. Relief flooded me, but guilt followed fast. I wanted to ask about him, his smile, his health, but Daniel's eyes held me back. I heard about your solar tech, I said, deflecting. Started in a garage, right? He nodded, his gaze never softening. Had to. Someone had to pay for Liam's treatments after you left. The accusation stung, but I deserved it. I'd left them with nothing, chasing my own dreams while Daniel fought for our son's life. I didn't know if he'd make it, I whispered, my voice cracking. Daniel's jaw tightened. You didn't care enough to find out. 2 years of experimental drugs, Sophia. Nights I thought he wouldn't wake up. I sold everything, borrowed from loan sharks. But we survived. His success wasn't just business. It was survival, built on love for Liam. Mine was built on running away. I felt the gala's noise fade, the crowd blurring. It was just us. And the weight of 10 years. I want to see him, I said, my voice barely audible. Daniel's eyes darkened. No, you don't get to waltz back in. You gave up that right when you walked out. His words cut deep, but I pressed on. He's my son, too. Daniel stepped closer, his voice low. You chose your career over him. Over us. Don't talk to me about rights. The pain in his eyes mirrored mine, but his was raw, earned through years of sacrifice I'd never understand. The orchestra swelled, but I barely heard it. Please, Daniel. Let me explain. He shook his head. What's there to explain? You left a sick baby and a man who loved you. You sent nothing, not a call, not a dollar. I wanted to argue, to say I'd been young, scared. But the truth was uglier. I'd been selfish. I was wrong. I admitted, tears threatening. I need to make this right. Daniel studied me, his face softening for a moment, then hardening again. Prove it, he said. Not with words. With actions. You want to see Liam? Show me you're not the same woman who ran. He turned, walking back into the crowd, leaving me breathless. The gala sparkled on, but I was drowning in regret. Daniel's challenge was clear. Words weren't enough. I had to change, to sacrifice, to prove I could be the mother Liam deserved. The question was, could I do it? Could I tear down everything I'd built to rebuild what I'd destroyed? Back in my penthouse, the Los Angeles skyline glittered, but I felt only darkness. Daniel's words echoed. Prove it. I'd spent 10 years building a tech empire, but now, all I could think of was Liam. Was he happy? Did he have my stubborn streak or Daniel's quiet strength? The guilt was a vice around my heart. I'd left my son, my family, for this, glass towers and empty accolades. I wanted to see Liam, to hold him, but Daniel's ultimatum loomed. Could I give up everything I'd worked for? I paced my office, awards lining the walls, mocking me. I'd told myself leaving was for Liam's future, that my success would help him. But I hadn't sent a dime, hadn't checked on him. I'd buried my pain in work, pretending I could outrun it. Now, seeing Daniel's strength, his love for our son, I saw the truth. I'd been a coward, choosing ambition over family. The thought of Liam growing up without knowing me twisted my gut. I imagined his face, wondering if he'd hate me for abandoning him. My business partner, James Larson, called, his voice sharp. Sophia, you're distracted. We've got a board meeting tomorrow. I barely listened. The company, my pride, felt meaningless. I wanted Liam to know his mother, to know I loved him. But Daniel's challenge meant dismantling my life. Could I walk away from my empire? The thought terrified me. I'd fought for every deal, every milestone. Giving it up felt like erasing myself. Yet, the alternative was worse, living with this hollowness forever. I thought of my mother, who died when I was young. I'd always wished for one more day with her. Liam deserved better than a mother who ran. I sat at my desk, staring at a photo of myself at 25, so sure I was right to leave. That girl didn't know what love cost. Now, I did. I wanted to be there for Liam's scraped knees, his dreams, his fears. The phone buzzed again, James, impatient. I ignored it. My heart pounded as I opened my laptop, drafting a letter to the board. Stepping down as CEO would shock the world, but it was the only way. I'd face their anger, their betrayal, to prove I'd changed. But doubt gnawed at me. What if Liam rejected me? What if Daniel never trusted me again? I closed my eyes, seeing Liam's face in my mind. A face I didn't know but loved fiercely. I typed the first line. Effective immediately, I resign as CEO. My hand shook, but I kept going. This was my chance to rewrite my story. To be the mother Liam needed, the partner Daniel deserved. The guilt wouldn't vanish, but maybe, just maybe, I could build something new. Something real. I hit send, my heart racing. There was no going back. I was stepping into the unknown, driven by a love I'd buried too long, praying it wasn't too late to earn my family's trust. Daniel's ultimatum hung over me like a storm cloud. Abandon your company, he'd said. Move to San Francisco. Prove you're not running this time. I stood in my Los Angeles office. The city sprawling below, my empire's heart. Giving it up felt like cutting out my own heart. But Liam's face, imagined, hoped for, pushed me forward. I'd left him once, a sick infant, to chase success. Now, Daniel demanded proof I'd choose family over ambition. I booked a flight to San Francisco, my hands trembling. This was my chance to make things right, but the cost was steep. I met Daniel at a quiet cafe near the Golden Gate Bridge. The bay sparkled, but the air between us was heavy. You're serious? He asked, his brown eyes searching mine. I nodded. I sent my resignation to the board. I'm moving here. His face stayed hard, unyielding. Words, Sophia. You're good at those. Liam needs more. His distrust stung, but I understood. I'd left him to face Liam's illness alone, to scrape by while I built a fortune. What do you want me to do? I asked, my voice low. Be a mother, he said simply. Not a visitor. Not a check in the mail. Be there for Liam, every day, every mess, every moment. Can you do that? I swallowed hard. I'd never been a mother, not really. I'd held Liam for 3 months before fear drove me away. Now, he was 10, a boy I didn't know. I want to try, I said. Daniel leaned back, crossing his arms. Then start small. Meet him. But if you hurt him, Sophia, I swear, you're done. The weight of his words settled on me. I'd hurt them both before, walking out when Liam's heart condition threatened to break us. Now, I had to prove I'd stay. I moved to San Francisco the next week, renting a small apartment near Daniel's house. The tech world buzzed with shock. Sophia Bennett, stepping down? My board called it betrayal. James Larson called it madness. You're throwing away everything, he said over the phone. I didn't argue. He didn't understand. This wasn't about ambition anymore. It was about Liam. Daniel arranged for me to meet Liam at a park. My heart pounded as I waited, clutching a soccer ball I'd bought, hoping he liked it. Would he look like me? Would he hate me? Daniel's warning echoed. Don't hurt him. I'd spent years building walls around my heart, but now they were crumbling. I wanted to know Liam, to earn his trust, to be the mother I'd failed to be. But doubt gnawed at me. What if I wasn't enough? What if 10 years was too long to bridge? As I stood there, the bay breeze cold against my skin, I saw them, Daniel, tall and protective, and a small boy with dark curls, kicking a ball. Liam, my son. My chest tightened with love and fear. This was my test, my chance to prove I'd changed. I took a step forward, ready to face whatever came, praying I could earn a place in their lives. San Francisco's fog wrapped around me as I settled into my new life, a small apartment blocks from Daniel's house. I'd walked away from my company, my name splashed across headlines as a fool who'd thrown away a billion-dollar empire. James Larson's last email burned in my mind. You're insane, Sophia. You'll regret this. But regret was an old friend. I'd regretted leaving Liam every day for 10 years. Now, I was here to make it right, to be a mother, even if I didn't know how. Daniel set strict rules. I could see Liam, but only with him there. No promises, no expectations. He doesn't know you're his mother, Daniel warned. Don't push him. The first meeting was at a park, Liam kicking a soccer ball, his laughter bright. He had my curls, Daniel's eyes. I handed him the ball I'd bought, my voice shaky. Want to play? He grinned, unafraid, and we kicked the ball under Daniel's watchful gaze. It was small, but it felt like everything. Days turned to weeks. I showed up for Liam's games, his school events, always in the background. He called me Sophia, not Mom, and each time, it hurt, but I kept coming. I learned his favorite things, pizza, comic books, dogs. I told him stories. Listened to his dreams of being a pilot. Daniel watched, his distrust softening, but never gone. You're doing okay, he said once, his voice grudging. It was enough to keep me going. The tech world didn't let go easily. My board tried to sue, claiming I'd breached contracts. Reporters hounded me, calling my move a breakdown. I ignored them, focusing on Liam. But it wasn't easy. I'd spent years in boardrooms, not playgrounds. I fumbled through conversations with other parents, felt out of place at school recitals. Liam's world was messy, real, and I was learning to love it. One day, he fell off his bike, scraping his knee. I knelt beside him, cleaning the wound, my heart aching with a fierce need to protect him. Daniel noticed. You're trying, he said one evening, as we watched Liam draw at his kitchen table. But it's not enough yet. I nodded, tears in my eyes. I knew trust took time. I'd left them when Liam was sick, when Daniel needed me most. Now, I had to prove I'd stay, no matter how hard it got. I started volunteering at Liam's school, helping with art projects, showing up for every moment I'd missed. But doubt lingered. What if Liam never saw me as his mother? What if Daniel couldn't forgive me? I lay awake at night, haunted by the years I'd lost. Yet, every smile from Liam, every shared glance with Daniel, gave me hope. I was rebuilding, step by step, a life I'd thrown away. The city's fog felt like a mirror, cloudy, uncertain, but with glimpses of light. I clung to those glimpses, praying they'd lead me to a family I could call mine again, knowing I'd fight for every moment, every chance to prove I was here to stay. The San Francisco sun was bright, but my world darkened when Liam collapsed on the soccer field. I was on the sidelines, cheering, when he stumbled, clutching his chest. My heart stopped. Daniel sprinted to him, his face pale. Liam, he shouted, kneeling beside our son. Liam's breaths were shallow, his eyes wide with fear. I ran to them, my mind flashing back to 10 years ago. Liam as a baby, struggling to breathe. His heart condition had returned, and the terror I'd fled from was back. The ambulance ride was a blur. I held Liam's hand, his small fingers cold in mine. Daniel sat across from me, his eyes fixed on our son. He'll be okay, I whispered, more to myself than anyone. At the hospital, Dr. Emmeline Gwynn met us, her face grim. It's his heart again, she said. We're running tests. But it's serious. Daniel's jaw clenched, and I saw the weight of those early years, nights alone, fighting for Liam's life while I was gone. Guilt choked me, but I pushed it aside. Liam needed me now. We sat in the waiting room, the hum of machines deafening. I wanted to hold Daniel, to share his fear, but he was distant, focused on Liam. This happened before, he said, his voice low. When he was 3, I thought we'd lost him. I swallowed hard, imagining those nights I'd never witnessed. I should have been there, I said. Daniel didn't look at me. You weren't. His words were a knife, but I deserved them. I'd left them to face this alone. Dr. Nguyen returned, her expression softer. He's stable, but we need to monitor him. It's pulmonary hypertension. Flaring up. He'll need surgery. My stomach dropped. Surgery. The word brought back memories of Liam's tiny body, hooked to tubes. I looked at Daniel, his face etched with worry. What can I do? I asked. He met my eyes, softer now. Stay. Be here for him. I nodded, tears falling. I wouldn't run this time. We took turns by Liam's bedside. He was pale, an oxygen mask over his face. But he smiled when he saw me. Sophia, you came, he said, his voice weak. My heart broke. He didn't know I was his mother, but he trusted me. I stroked his hair, telling him stories about pilots and planes, anything to keep him calm. Daniel watched, his silence heavy but not cold. We were a team now, bound by fear and love for our son. The hours dragged. Each beep of the monitor a reminder of how fragile this was. I thought of the years I'd missed, the moments I'd never get back. But I was here now, and I'd fight for Liam. I prayed silently. Something I hadn't done since I was a child. Please, let him be okay. Let me have a chance to be his mother. Daniel reached for my hand, his grip tight. For the first time in a decade. We faced this together, and I clung to that hope, knowing Liam's life depended on it. Liam's hospital room was dim, the monitors casting a soft glow. He was stable, but weak. His small frame dwarfed by the bed. I sat beside him, holding his hand, while Daniel stood by the window, staring at the San Francisco skyline. Dr. Nguyen had just left, saying surgery was scheduled for tomorrow. My heart was heavy with fear, but Liam's faint smile gave me strength. Then he spoke, his voice quiet but clear. Sophia, I know you're my mom. The words stopped my breath. I stared at him, my mind reeling. Daniel turned, his face as shocked as mine. Liam, what? I managed, my voice trembling. He looked at me, his eyes, my eyes, steady. I found old photos in Dad's attic. You and me, when I was a baby. I've known for a year. My heart shattered. He'd known I was his mother, and I'd been too scared to tell him. All this time, he'd carried that truth alone. Why didn't you say anything? Daniel asked, stepping closer, his voice thick. Liam shrugged, his small shoulders rising. I didn't want to make you sad, Dad. You always said Mom was traveling. I thought maybe she didn't want me. Tears streamed down my face. I'd abandoned him, and he'd built a story to protect himself. Liam, I whispered, I'm so sorry. I never stopped wanting you. I was scared, but I was wrong. Daniel knelt beside the bed, his eyes on Liam. You should have told me, buddy. Liam looked between us, his face serious. I wanted to see if she'd stay, if she'd be my mom for real. His words were a punch to my gut. He'd been testing me, watching me show up at his games, his school. I'd been a stranger, but he'd given me a chance. I didn't deserve it, but I was grateful. I'm here now, I said, my voice breaking. I'm not leaving Liam. I promise. He studied me, then nodded, a small smile forming. Okay, I believe you. Daniel's hand found mine, his grip tight, and I saw tears in his eyes. We were both reeling from Liam's revelation. He'd known the truth I'd been too afraid to face. And his quiet strength humbled me. The room felt smaller, the weight of 10 years pressing down. I'd spent so long running from my guilt, but Liam had seen through it. He'd seen me. Not as the tech mogul, but as his mother, flawed and trying. I stroked his hair, my heart aching with love. You're so brave, I said. He smiled faintly. You're here. That's brave too. Daniel and I exchanged a glance, a silent agreement to face this together. Liam's surgery loomed, but his words had changed everything. He knew who I was, and he still wanted me here. That trust, fragile as it was a gift I'd never expected. I'd hurt him, but he'd opened his heart anyway. Now, I had to prove I was worthy of it, not just to Liam, but to myself. Tomorrow's surgery would test us all, but for the first time, I felt ready to stay, to fight, to be the mother I'd failed to be. The hospital room was quiet, save for Liam's soft breaths and the steady beep of monitors. Surgery was hours away, and fear clung to me like damp fog. I sat by Liam's bed, his small hand in mine, while Daniel paced, his face tight with worry. Dr. Nguyen had warned us the procedure was risky. Liam's heart was weaker than expected. I felt helpless, the same helplessness I'd fled 10 years ago. But this time, I wasn't running. I looked at Daniel, his shoulders tense, and knew we were in this together. "Liam's strong," I said, my voice low. Daniel stopped pacing, his eyes meeting mine. "He is," he said. "Softer now. Like you." The words caught me off guard. For years, I'd seen myself as weak, a coward who'd left them. But Daniel's gaze held something new, forgiveness, maybe, or hope. I wanted to believe it. "I love him," I said, tears falling. "And you, Daniel." I never stopped. The confession slipped out, raw and honest, 10 years too late. He froze, his eyes searching mine. "Sophia," he said, his voice rough. "I loved you too. Even after you left. But it hurt. You broke us." I nodded, the weight of my choice is heavy. "I know. I'm so sorry." He stepped closer, sitting beside me. "I see you trying. For Liam. It means something." His hand brushed mine, and for a moment, the hospital faded. It was just us, two people who'd loved and lost. Now fighting for our son. Liam stirred, his eyes fluttering open. "Are you guys okay?" he asked, his voice weak but clear. I smiled through tears. "We're okay, sweetheart. We're here." He looked at Daniel, then me, his small face serious. "Don't fight, okay? I need you both." His words broke me. He was 10, facing surgery, and he was holding us together. Daniel took his other hand, his voice steady. "We're not going anywhere, buddy. We're a team." The hours before surgery were agonizing. We told Liam stories, laughed about his favorite comic book heroes, anything to keep fear at bay. But when the nurses came to take him, my heart clenched. I kissed his forehead, whispering, "I love you, Liam. You're so strong." Daniel hugged him, his eyes wet. "We'll be right here, champ." Liam nodded, brave despite the fear in his eyes, and they wheeled him away. Daniel and I sat in the waiting room, silent, holding hands. The clock ticked, each second a lifetime. "If he makes it," Daniel said, his voice barely audible, "we do this together. For him." I squeezed his hand. "No matter what. I'm here." It was a vow. To Liam, to Daniel, to the family I'd abandoned. We'd loved each other once, and despite the pain, that love hadn't died. It was bruised, scarred, but alive, binding us now as we faced the possibility of losing Liam. The surgeon emerged, her face tired but calm. "He's stable," she said. Relief flooded me, and I fell into Daniel's arms, sobbing. We'd made it through the darkest moment, united by love for our son, ready to rebuild what we'd lost, together. Liam came home to San Francisco a week after surgery, his smile brighter despite the bandages. Daniel's house was warm, filled with Liam's drawings and toys, a world I was learning to belong to. We took turns caring for him, me reading bedtime stories, Daniel cooking his favorite pasta. It felt fragile, like a dream I might wake from, but every day, I chose to stay. Liam called me Sophia, but his trust grew. He'd show me his plane models, his eyes lighting up when I listened. Daniel watched, his guarded heart softening, and I felt hope. Co-parenting wasn't easy. Liam had nightmares, waking up crying about his surgery. I'd hold him, whispering he was safe, but doubt lingered. Was I enough? Daniel and I argued sometimes, small things like schedules, or bigger ones like how to tell Liam about our past. "He deserves the truth," I said one night, washing dishes beside Daniel. He sighed, his hands in soapy water. "He's been through enough, Sophia. Let him heal first." I nodded, respecting his lead. He'd raised Liam alone. I had to earn my place. We built routines, soccer games, school pickups, quiet evenings. Liam's laughter filled the gaps my absence had left. But his trust was fragile. One day, he asked, "Sophia, why didn't you come back sooner?" My heart sank. I knelt beside him, choosing honesty. "I was scared, Liam. I made a mistake. But I'm here now, and I'll never leave again." He studied me, then hugged me, his small arms fierce. "Okay," he said. It was enough for now. Daniel and I grew closer, our old love flickering back to life. One evening, as Liam slept, we sat on the porch, the city lights below. "You're different," Daniel said, his voice soft. "You're really here." I smiled, tears in my eyes. "I want to be. For both of you." He took my hand, and I felt the weight of 10 years lift, just a little. But challenges remained. Liam sometimes pulled away, unsure if I'd stay. Daniel's trust, too, was cautious, scarred by my betrayal. I threw myself into their world. I helped Liam with homework, cheered at his games, learned to make his favorite cookies. The other parents welcomed me, but I felt like an outsider, piecing together a role I'd abandoned. Daniel supported me, his patience a quiet strength. "You're doing good," he said one night, as we tucked Liam in. I clung to those words, knowing trust was earned slowly, through every small moment. The city's rhythm became mine, foggy mornings, bustling school runs, quiet nights with Daniel and Liam. We were a family, imperfect but trying. Liam's health stabilized, but his heart, like ours, needed time to heal. I looked at him, sleeping peacefully, and vowed to keep showing up. Daniel and I were rebuilding. Not just for Liam, but for the love we'd lost. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Each day, I chose them, hoping one day Liam would call me Mom, hoping Daniel would fully trust me again. Knowing the journey was worth it. 6 months passed in San Francisco, and our family took shape, fragile but growing stronger. Liam's health held steady, his laughter filling Daniel's house. We'd settled into a rhythm: school runs, soccer games, quiet dinners. I was part of their world, but the scars of my absence lingered. Liam still called me Sophia, his trust cautious, earned through every story I read, every bandage I changed. Daniel and I were closer, our hands brushing as we cooked, our conversations deepening. But his heart held back, wary of old wounds. I understood. 10 years of pain didn't vanish overnight. One evening, Liam showed me a drawing, a family, 3 stick figures under a sun. "That's us," he said, pointing to the smallest figure. My throat tightened. "It's beautiful, Liam." He smiled, but his eyes searched mine, as if testing my commitment. I'd promised never to leave. But promises meant little to a boy who'd grown up without his mother. Daniel watched us, his expression soft but guarded. "You're good with him," he said later, as we sat on the porch, the city lights twinkling. "I'm trying," I said, my voice low. "I want this, Daniel. Us." He nodded, his hand finding mine. "I want it too. But it's hard. You broke us once." His honesty hurt. But it was fair. I'd left when Liam was sick, when Daniel needed me most. Now, I had to prove I was different. We planned a future, holidays, vacations, a life together. But Liam's trust was the real challenge. He'd known I was his mother for a year, yet he held back, afraid I'd disappear again. I couldn't blame him. I'd abandoned him when he was a baby, choosing ambition over love. One day, Liam fell at school, scraping his elbow. I rushed to him, cleaning the wound as he winced. "You're okay," I said, my voice steady. He looked at me, his eyes soft. "Thanks, Sophia. You're kinda like a mom." My heart soared, but the word kinda stung. I wasn't there yet, but I was closer. Daniel saw it too. "He's opening up," he said that night, his voice warm. "Give him time." I nodded, grateful for his patience, for the love that hadn't died despite everything. We were a family, but not whole. Liam's trust was fragile, Daniel's forgiveness incomplete. I kept showing up, baking cookies, cheering at games, tucking Liam in. Each moment was a step toward healing, but the path was uncertain. Would Liam ever call me Mom? Would Daniel ever fully let me in? I didn't know, but I chose to stay, to fight for them. The San Francisco fog mirrored my heart, cloudy, but with light breaking through. I held on to that light, believing in the family we could become, hoping love would be enough to mend what I'd broken. I've learned that love and family are worth more than any empire. I built a billion-dollar company, but it couldn't fill the hole left by abandoning Liam and Daniel. Success felt empty without them. 10 years ago, I chose ambition over love, thinking it would save me. I was wrong. Leaving my son and husband was the biggest mistake of my life, one I'll carry forever. But I've also learned that mistakes can be forgiven, that hearts can heal. Liam's trust. Daniel's love, they're gifts I don't deserve but fight for every day. It took sacrifice, leaving my company, facing my guilt, to see what truly matters. Family isn't perfect moments, it's showing up. Through fear, through pain, for those you love. Second chances are rare, but they're possible if you're willing to change. I had to let go of pride, of wealth, to rebuild what I'd broken. It's not easy. Trust is earned slowly, through small, steady acts. But every moment with Liam, every shared glance with Daniel, is worth it. Love demands courage. The kind that faces the past and builds a future. If you've drifted from someone you love, don't wait. Reach out, take the first step, even if it's hard. The life you want isn't found in titles or money, it's in the people who make your heart whole. If you've ever walked away from someone, felt the weight of regret, or wondered if it's too late to make things right, I hope my story speaks to you. I was scared, selfish, but I'm learning to be better. You can too. Pick up the phone, write the letter, show up. It won't be perfect, but it'll be real. Love is worth the fight, worth the fear. Take that step today. Reach out to someone you've lost touch with. Mend the bond, even if it's just a start. Life is too short to live with regret. I'm here, still learning, still hoping, and I believe you can find your way back, too.